أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek help from Him, and we seek forgiveness from Him. Whomever Allah guides, no one can misguide, and whomever Allah misguides, no one can guide. I testify that there is no true God except Allah alone, who has no partner, and I testify that Muhammad is His slave and messenger, alayhi salatu wassalam. The best speech is the book of Allah, and the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam. The worst things are newly invented matters, and every innovation leads us astray. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Which means, in case you forgot or you don't know, anyone who may be watching, because there may be some people who may not know, the greeting means peace be upon you. Wa rahmatullah means the mercy of Allah and His blessings, the goodness of Allah. So there is no better greeting than that. Today we're talking about one of the great Sahaba, companions of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, and that means Sa'd, the son of Abu Waqqas, his father's kunya. And inshallah we'll look very shortly at his father's name and everything else. But to remind myself and you that it's a great honor and privilege to be with you here tonight, and also to talk about these great individuals and to benefit from their biographies, because they are biographies that illuminate our way when we are in darkness and we don't know what to do, don't know what to say, and we don't know how to behave ourselves. When we read their biographies, we find answers to most questions that we may have in our lives, if not all. His name is Sa'd bin Malik, so his father's name is Malik, and his father's kunya, his nickname you can say, is Abu Waqqas. Sa'd bin Malik bin Uhayb bin Abd Manaf bin Zuhra bin Kilab bin Murra bin Ka'b bin Lu'ay. Al-Amir, he was given the title of Al-Amir because he was commander and leader of not only armies but cities, and he became an Amir, a leader and a ruler. And of course nowadays Amir has become to mean prince. So Amir in those days was something you earned, not something you inherited. And that is why he's called Al-Amir. Abu Ishaq, his kunya is Abu Ishaq. Al-Qurashi, he is from Quraysh. Al-Zuhri al-Makki, he was obviously from Mecca, and related to the Prophet ﷺ. Shahida Badran. So you can see in many of the 10 that we have studied, and probably all of them so far, they are related to the Prophet ﷺ. So it shows that your relatives, if they help you in good, it is good, and if they prevent you from good, then that is not good, because the Prophet ﷺ had relatives who tried to kill him, ﷺ. And of course them Allah blamed severely, and they are not his helpers at all. In fact, they're his enemies. And anyone of the relatives of the Prophet ﷺ who helped him, and Sa'd is one of them, radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, that is double reward, because one reward is to support your relative, and another reward is to help the truth, because to help the truth is an obligation upon not only a Muslim but a non-Muslim. A Muslim, because he is submitted to Allah, Jazakumullah khair, barakallah fikum. He is submitted to Allah or she, and they have an obligation to accept the truth and help it and assist it. And the non-Muslim has the same obligation, which should lead them to become Muslims. Shahid Badran al-Hudaybiyah. The ulama who mentioned biographies of Sahaba especially, and then others who came after them, they mention things in their lives where they showed their true colors, their true standing. So anyone who, like we said before, like it was mentioned before, any of the Sahaba companions of the Prophet ﷺ who witnessed Badr, who took part in the battle of Badr, it has a great standing. Why? Because they, as was mentioned before, but I repeat it for the benefit of maybe someone who didn't hear it. Badr happened, as Allah described it in the Quran as well, without appointment. They were not going to fight. They were going to intercept a caravan of the Quraysh and come home. They were not going with the niyyah, with the intention to fight. And then they were ordered to fight. So they didn't say, we actually didn't come for this. You know, our job is just to take the things and no blood spilled, no problems, and come home. They said, yes, if Allah tells us to fight, we will fight. That means He will help us. And that means time is right to do that. So, and because of that, of course, Allah helped them. And the Battle of Badr was the first major battle after the Prophet ﷺ made hijrah. He migrated to Al-Madinah. And it happened in the year 2 after hijrah. Before that, there were small things happening here and there, but nothing major. And the Battle of Badr was a major battle. The first major battle that happened in Islam was the Battle of Badr, Ghazwatu Badr. It's called in Arabic, and which I advise you, as I have done on many occasions. I strongly advise you to learn Arabic as much as you can. Ghazwatu Badrin is how it is called in Arabic, and that is why they mention it so often. And also we have many ayat and ahadith in which Allah praised the people who took part in the Battle of Badr. So he took part in the Battle of Badr, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu. Even though he wasn't an old man, but he was shab. Because shab in Arabic, young man, is to the age of 32 or 33. And he was definitely younger than that because he embraced Islam when he was only 17. So you put, and he was roughly 32, you can say, because 13 years plus 17 gives you 30, plus 2 years in Medina, that's 32. Hudaybiyah, and of course the Pact of Hudaybiyah, it's not a Battle of Hudaybiyah, it's a Pact of Hudaybiyah. Hudaybiyah is a place not far from Mecca. And the story of Hudaybiyah in itself is mentioned in the Quran. The pact is mentioned not directly, but Surah Al-Fath. Any one of you who knows Surah Al-Fath, Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina, that we have indeed granted you a great victory. That victory relates to the Sulh of Hudaybiyah, to the Pact of Al-Hudaybiyah in the year 6 after Hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet and his Sahaba wanted to do Umrah. They went, and the mushriks, the idolaters of Mecca, didn't let them into Mecca. So they stopped they camped at a place called Al-Hudaybiyah, and that pact has become known as Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. The pact, because they had negotiations and they agreed to do, that they would allow them to do Umrah the following year, but that year they would not go into Mecca. And of course a lot of it was to do to make life of the Muslims hard. It wasn't something that they needed to negotiate, the people of Mecca. But it was designed to annoy the Muslims and to show who is boss really. And the Prophet ﷺ accepted almost all, if not all, conditions they put. That in itself requires a separate lecture, even lectures maybe. Because Sulh al-Hudaybiyah is a very important topic. The hadith of Hudaybiyah is long. It requires a lot of study, and it's in Bukhari, in Kitab al-Shurut, but today we are not talking about that. Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, he was among the group of Sahaba who came and they were with the Prophet ﷺ, and of course Allah mentioned that in Surah Al-Fath, that He is pleased with the in other places, He is pleased with the believers. who took part in Hudaybiyah, and he's pleased because they pledged allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ. Because there was a moment in the negotiations when Uthman bin Affan was sent as a negotiator into Mecca, and some spread a rumor that he was killed by the kuffar. And at that point the Prophet ﷺ didn't know for sure, and he said, if anything happens, I need to know who is going to help me. And they all, alhamdulillah, they did bay'ah, they did, and Allah mentioned that, radiallahu anil mu'minina, إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ that Allah was pleased with, and is pleased with the believers, that they, while or when they were giving you bay'ah under the tree, they were giving you the pledge of allegiance, that they would fight with you and defend you. That is one of the greatest ways to help the truth, because you cannot help the truth if you don't help the people of the truth, the people of haqq. That's many brothers don't understand sometimes. They say we like the sunnah, we like the people of the sunnah, but when a alim of the sunnah is being abused, they say, inshallah, I don't get involved. No, it's not correct, because if a alim from the ulama of the sunnah is being abused by whoever it is, we have to say this is from the inheritors of the prophets, alayhimu salatu wasalam, and it's not permissible for us to abuse them. So he took part in that. وَأَحَدُ السِّتَّةِ أَهْلِ الشُّورَى. He's one of the six, and those six people already have been mentioned. We didn't mention who they were. I mentioned some of them. And you may remember some of them. Abdul-Rahman ibn Awf was one of them, radiallahu anhu. Those six people whom Umar said they should be between themselves choose the next Khalifa, the next ruler of the Muslims, the next Caliph. And he's min as-sabiqeen al-awwalin, of course. He's from the first and foremost to embrace Islam. And we have evidence in Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari, of course, if those of you who may be watching this recording or who may be listening here from brothers or sisters, when we say in Bukhari, it means in the collection of the great Imam Muhammad bin Ismail al-Bukhari, who was from Bukhara. The city of Bukhara still stands in Uzbekistan, what is now known as Uzbekistan, the same way as the city of Tirmidh, where At-Tirmidhi is from. Those two great ulama of hadith and fiqh, they are from what is now Uzbekistan. So don't listen to people who abuse Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan. Some people abuse Kazakhstan because I believe it's a Muslim country. There is no other reason for that. So don't listen to people who look down upon those brothers and sisters, because that place produced many great ulama. These are the great ones we know. There are others, many who we don't know, or some of us don't know. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, he collected a book of Sahih Hadith, authentic Hadith. He didn't collect all of them. And that he did look at the gathering of the ulama, ikhwan. The gatherings of ulama are always good. One of his great sheikhs was Ishaq bin Rahawayh. Ishaq bin Rahawayh himself is not an Arab, but he was one of the great imams of hadith and fiqh. And he was one of the sheikhs of Bukhari. Look at the student, subhanallah. The student is Bukhari. So he was in gathering of his sheikh Ishaq bin Rahawayh rahimahullah, when he was just, like you can say, thinking aloud, his sheikh. He said, I wish someone made a book of hadith in which he collected Sahih Hadith. And Bukhari said, when I heard that from my sheikh, I felt, to do it. But he was shy to say that he would do it. Then as years went by, or time went by, his determination became stronger and stronger until he actually did it. After he did it, he didn't, like now some brothers do, put it on the internet. He went around the ulama. He went to Imam Ahmad. He said, what do you think of this? It's only hadith, ikhwan. Some people say, why are you showing it to the ulama? It's hadith sahih. Bukhari is alim. Why are you showing to Imam Ahmad? Because he considers Imam Ahmad more alim than him. And Imam Ahmad is one of the shuyukh of Bukhari. one of the teachers of Bukhari. So he showed it to Imam Ahmad, he showed it to the ulama of hadith, who all said it's nice. So, meaning, give it to people. Don't put it on the internet, then have a fitna over it, and then Allah alam what else happens. Show always to the ulama. If you want to write something, ask the ulama, the scholars. So Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, his own biography is a great story, but he has a hadith in his collection from the authority or on the authority of Sa'id bin al-Musayyib. Correct, he didn't used to like to be called al-Musayyab, but al-Musayyib, who said, is one of the great imams of the tabi'in. سمعت سعدا يقول, I heard Sa'd radiallahu anhu say, ما أسلم أحد في اليوم الذي أسلمت. On the day that I embraced Islam, no one embraced Islam. ولقد مكثت 7 ليال وإني لثلث الإسلام. And 7 nights I stayed, I was 1/3 of Islam. Meaning one of the 3 Muslims. And the ulama tried to explain it that maybe he meant the men, because by that time there were more than 3 Muslims, but he's one of the very, very first. Even if we say he's number 4, it's not a big difference. Let's say he's 4th of Islam. And he was only 17 at the time. 17. So we have children becoming Muslim, 112, 117, a woman Khadija becoming Muslim, and Abu Bakr becoming Muslim from the men. So it doesn't mean that children and women and others, they can't understand the truth when it comes to them. So children can understand if they are of clean heart and proper disposition, the same as women. When he became a Muslim, he had a big fitna from his mother. He had a big trial from his mother. And the Sa'd himself used to say, as it is narrated by Imam Muslim and others, Ahmad and Tirmidhi. So Imam Muslim is one of the students of Imam al-Bukhari. And he did like his sheikh. He decided to collect a book, or to make a book of hadith with sahih. So someone might say, why on earth is he making when his sheikh did already the job? But Imam Muslim, he contributed great also to the hadith and to fiqh in Islam, because he went about differently to his sheikh. And his sheikh approved it as well. So that's how real ulama are, who do for Allah. If they see someone do better than them, they are happy. Not like now you have many people who, if someone does good, they are not happy, because they want themselves to be known to the people. But the person who has ikhlas, he's happy when others do good. The more the better. So Imam Muslim rahimahullah and others, they collected a hadith, meaning a narration from Sa'd himself. He said, this ayah in Surah Al-Ankabut was revealed regarding me. وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Meaning regarding the parents, if they force you to associate with me or to disbelieve in me in a way or with something that you have no knowledge of, then don't obey them. قَالَ كُنْتُ بَرًّا بِأُمِّي. He said, I was very dutiful and kind to my mother. فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمْتُ قَالَتْ يَا سَعْدْ مَا هَذَا الدِّينَ الَّذِي قَدْ أَحْدَثْتَ. And when I became a Muslim, she said, Sa'd, what's this religion that you brought new? Meaning, something they're not used to. لَتَدَعَنَّ دِينَكَ هَذَا أَوْ لَا آكُلُ وَلَا أَشْرَبْ حَتَّى أَمُوتْ. If you either will leave your religion, or I will not eat or drink until I die. فَتُعَيِّرُ بِي. And she was scaring me even more and making me upset by saying, and people will say, just like some parents like to say, no. And people will say, فَيُقَالْ يَا قَاتِلْ أُمِّهِ. Or someone who killed his mother, meaning if she dies by not eating and drinking. Even though he didn't kill her, but psychological warfare. So what did Sa'd say radiallahu anhu? قلت لا تفعل يا أمة. Oh my mother, don't do it. إني لا أدع ديني هذا لشيء. I will not never leave this religion for anything. فمكثت يوما لا تأكل ولا تشرب وليلة. So she stayed one day and night, 24 hours, not eating and drinking. وأصبحت وقد جهدت. And she was after that very weak, obviously. فلما رأيت ذلك قلت. When I saw that, I said to her, يا أمة تعلمين والله لو كان لك 100 نفس فخرجت نفسا ما تركت ديني. He said a nice thing, not rude but firm. Oh my mother, you know wallahi, meaning he knows how she thinks. You know wallahi that if you had 100 souls, not like a cat they call 9 lives, yeah? Even though it's not true, don't try it on a cat. No? 100 lives, if you had 100 lives, kids might be happy because they play games 100 lives and things. If you had 100 lives and each one left or each soul went out from you one after another, I wouldn't leave my religion. He said to her, إن شئتِ فكلي أو لا تأكلي. If you want eat or not eat. Meaning it's up to you. So فلما رأت ذلك أكلت. So when she heard that and saw that, she started eating. It was just to scare him. Now, just like many parents do. Some of course are more severe, it's true. Some may go further and things like that, but this is one of the things to, they call it hunger strike probably nowadays. And just to mention on fiqh issue, hunger strikes are not from Islam and they are not allowed in Islam. Yes, some may say that there are many Muslims who do it, but there are many Muslims who do many haram things, and that doesn't justify that in Islam. Because why? Number one, the Prophet ﷺ had more trials than what some people have now. Greater trials. His life was in danger on many occasions. He never did hunger strike. When he had food, he ate. When he didn't, he was patient. When Allah told him to fast, he fasted. When Allah told him to eat, he ate. So it's not from Islam to do a hunger strike. It's from non-Muslims. You can trace it very easily. Same way as suicide bombings are not from Islam. They are from non-Muslims. And it's very easy to trace as well. We have the Sri Lanka Tamil tigers who are not Muslims. We have the Japanese kamikaze who are not Muslims. Okay? Many examples like that, who the people who started suicide bombings. Some Muslims then who are weak in Iman, unfortunately, they looked and said, MashaAllah, looks good. Go into McDonald's, go into Pizza Hut, do something other than ordering pizza. Or maybe order pizza and do something after you eat it. So it's not correct. It's not, no alim that we know of, proper scholar, ever allowed it in the way that people do it now. Some scholars allowed it for war situations, but even in war situations, ikhwan, the correct thing, it's not allowed. Why? The Prophet ﷺ never allowed the person to kill himself. He must never ever kill himself. Ever. In the war, the enemy must kill you, not you. Right? So don't kill yourself and say MashaAllah. After that you can't say MashaAllah, but I mean, don't say MashaAllah and kill yourself. So suicide bombings are not from Islam, hunger strikes are not from Islam. So the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, after the Prophet ﷺ, they faced many difficult situations, many trials, even hunger. They faced fitna of killing, being killed sometimes. They never did hunger strikes. So they are the ones who understood the Sunnah the best, the way of our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They never did it, so that's the best guidance we say, the Prophet used to say, is the guidance of Muhammad ﷺ. the best guidance after Muhammad ﷺ is the guidance of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhu. So that is in relation to hunger strikes, because Sa'd radiyallahu anhu, his mother tried to influence him to leave his religion, but a person who has knowledge, I mean, he had the Prophet ﷺ with him. What other alim do you want? And he had certainty that that is the right path, and you can't blackmail them, meaning you will lose if you blackmail them. And someone who is weak in his iman, in his belief, and in his certainty, he doubts some things, he may be blackmailed. If you say to them, Akhi, it's nice tea, have some tea in Ramadan, you might have it. You might say, oh, mashallah, nice curry, you know, it's a long day. Have, but it's only 12 hours if you think it's not long. Or let's even say 18, and it's not too long. But if he's weak in iman, he might have it. No? Or someone might say, I will kill myself if you don't become a kafir. They might say, no, don't kill, I will become a kafir. And that's, I'm saying something I never heard, I hope I never hear. But about Ramadan I heard, but about that I didn't hear. But I hope no Muslim who is strong, he ever does it, because that's what they show us, that to be firm upon your deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself ordered the Prophet ﷺ to bring close people like Sa'd. In a hadith narrated by Imam Muslim and others, that Sa'd said, we were with the Prophet ﷺ, 6 of us, and the mushrikun, the idolaters, said to the Prophet ﷺ, utrud ha'ula. Utrud is very rude word in Arabic. It means almost kick them away or push them away. They said, because some of them were rich people, they were used to special treatment. And the special, ikhwan, generally, of rich people is their wealth, as far as I know. And if you remove the wealth, not much is left. Now, so they were used to special treatment. They didn't like poor people to even sit with them, just like now. But in Islam, alhamdulillah, we pray all together. Now we try to mix, so rich people know the poor people know the rich people, and so on. But they said to the Prophet ﷺ, those idolaters, remove these, they la yajtari'un alayna. This is also a bad word, meaning they don't have the audacity to sit with us or stay with us. And he said, it was me. Sa'd said, وَكُنْتُ أَنَا. It was me and Ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, and a man from Hudayl, tribe of Hudayl, and Bilal, the mu'adhin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَرَجُلَانِ لَسْتُ أُسَمِّيهِمَا. And the other two men. And the Prophet was thinking something until Allah revealed in Surah Al-An'am, وَلَا تَطْرُدِ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. That do not push away those who call upon their Lord in the mornings and evenings, seeking their face, meaning they are mukhlisun, they are sincere people. And Sa'd was one of them. So look how many ayat Allah revealed on the account of one man. Also he, radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ made dua for him when he was in Mecca to cure him, because the Prophet ﷺ used to worry about his companions. Not like now, some brothers, they call themselves your friend, and they see you twice a year when it's Eid. And even that they don't see, they happen to be in that place. Bismillah. Maybe if we had one Eid, they would see you once a year. So they say, mashallah, how you haven't seen you. It's not just me who should try and see, you should also try. So the Prophet ﷺ used, especially, I don't mean people in other cities. Of course, that's not possible for us to go to each other but I mean brothers who are together in one, sometimes area even, not city. In one small area, we don't see each other. And it's important that we see each other, because we can do so much more for each other. You can do for me, I can do for you. So the Prophet ﷺ used to visit his Sahaba. If he doesn't see, he asks, where is such and such? So Sa'd was very unwell at one point, and the Prophet ﷺ made dua to Allah to cure him, and that's the least we can do, and that's if it's sincere, inshallah Allah will answer it, and to complete his hijrah for him, as it is narrated by Imams al-Bukhari and Muslim, to complete his migration for him, for Sa'd. And of course that hadith has many other fawaid. We don't have time to go through them. On another occasion when they were in Medina, or during the Madani period after the Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ said once, when he was not sleeping and he still required bodyguards or someone to make sure that nothing happens to him, to provide some security to him, he said, لَيْتَ رَجُلًا صَالِحًا مِنْ أَصْحَابِي يَحْرُسُنِي اللَّيْلَ. I wish that one of the righteous men, Salih, from my companions and friends would stand guard for me tonight. And of course they heard some sound of weapons, meaning sword or something, and then they saw Sa'd coming, and he said, why did you come? He said, to do that, meaning he didn't hear him say that, meaning he came by himself and Allah inspired him to come, and he said, I want to stand guard for you tonight as security. And this also hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, and all these things, they show the greatness of Sa'd radiallahu anhu, because the Prophet called him Salih, and Allah defended them, defended Sa'd and others, even if they are poor. That's why it's very important for us, brothers and sisters, not to be, even if we are so wealthy that money falls from our pockets everywhere, and we do weddings with 20 dishes for each person. Some brothers told me 16. Even if we are like that, we shouldn't forget who gave it to us. And we shouldn't forget that Allah told us to be good to other people. And there are many people who work harder than us, but they don't have it. Questions later. So that's very important for us, not to ignore poor people, because poor people generally can't give us anything in return. So if we love them for Allah, ikhlas. Rich people we love, so-called, because we can get something. You know, if you become poor, you don't find many friends, because you only find maybe 1, 2, alhamdulillah, they're your friends. And we shouldn't be like that. We should invite them every time if we know needy, poor people. The brothers who come from Pakistan, India, they are new, or from any other country. They are new to the country. Why do we expect someone to take care of them? We are Muslims, we should help them. They're very poor. They have nothing sometimes, even if they are legally here. Poor people. And we are afraid, we've become something strange, we're afraid to give them sometimes food. Okay, you don't want to take them to your house, bring them food in the masjid. Take food to them in there where they live. And talk to them about something, to keep them happy. And that's how the Prophet ﷺ used to be. And also his dua, Sa'd radiallahu anhu, his dua was answered by Allah. He was one of those people whose dua, whose supplication, whose request was answered when he requests Allah. And we can only ask Allah for these things that only Allah can do. He would answer, because the Prophet ﷺ said, as it is reported by Tirmidhi and others, and it's authentic, "O Allah, answer Sa'd when he calls upon you." And the Prophet ﷺ says it, of course, to people who help him a lot and do many things for him. Because to help the Prophet ﷺ doesn't mean to help Arabs, ikhwan. Many people confuse the issue. To help the Prophet ﷺ means to help Allah. Naam? And the Prophet ﷺ happens to be an Arab. So if he was a Jew, it would be obligatory upon us to help him. if the Prophet ﷺ were anything else other than an Arab. But Allah chooses whom He likes from anywhere. So He chose it to be an Arab. He chose him to be an Arab alayhi salam. And also another example is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. During the time of Umar, when he was Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he was, for some time, Sa'd was appointed ruler of Al-Kufa. Kufa, everyone knows, in Iraq. And the complaint they made to Umar is very strange. They said, the people of Kufa, some people of Kufa, and you know, if you read history, Islamic history, that people of Kufa, many times they were fitna people. And before and after and things like that. They gave problem to Ali radiallahu anhu. They gave problem to Hassan, his son. They gave problem to Hussein. And many other problems in Kufa and other areas in Iraq and other places. So they complained to Umar about Sa'd, that he doesn't know how to pray. I mean, if you want to complain, choose something Umar can believe, you know. Don't choose some. If you said to some kid came, he doesn't know how to pray. Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas doesn't know how to pray. Or let's say they said, لا يحسن يصلي. He doesn't pray properly. It also is strange. He accompanied the Prophet ﷺ all this time and he doesn't know how to pray. So anyway, he replied in the following manner. And there is another narration which I will mention due to its importance. He said, إِنِّي لَأَوَّلُ الْعَرَبْ رَمَى بِسَهْمٍ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. I am the first of the Arabs, who shot an arrow in the path of Allah. Meaning for the sake of Allah. وَكُنَّا نَغْزُو مَعَ النَّبِيِّ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ وَمَا لَنَا طَعَامٍ إِلَّا وَرَقُ الشَّجَرِ. And we used to fight with the Prophet ﷺ, and we only had for food sometimes leaves of trees. If someone said, you know, you're going to have today spinach for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Spinach, not leaves of trees. You would say, Akhi, you think I'm a cow or something? I can eat green all the time. I need the cow as well with the green. I need the beef and I need the meat and I need the chicken and things. So the Sahaba, he's telling them indirectly that who are you? You complaining about me, you were nowhere to be seen when I was fighting with the Prophet ﷺ. Many Sahaba use this way of refuting. And we were fighting and we had difficult time. When were you? Where were you when we had difficult time? Now, mashallah, Kufa is built new and many things are coming and wealth and gold, and so you complaining now. حتى إن أحدنا لا يضع كما يضع البعير أو الشاة. He said, to the extent that one of us, when we used to go to the toilet, we used to do it like camels or sheep. If you eat the food of camels or sheep, you're going to do like that. Okay, so he's telling them those were the hard times. Then he said, ثم أصبحت بنو أسد. Then the tribe of Asad, تعذرني على الإسلام, giving me trouble about Islam, that I don't know Islam. And that is, he's perfectly entitled to say that. لقد خبت إذن وضل عملي. If that's true, he said, what they claim about me, then all of my action is wasted then. If I do all that time I didn't learn Islam and I didn't learn how to pray, then I will be disappointed that all my action is wasted. In fact, in some narrations of that hadith in Bukhari, they said that he doesn't come and sit with us to talk. That's another big problem for the ruler, mashallah. He doesn't sit and talk. So Sa'd, he said, when Umar himself came, he didn't send anyone, he wanted himself to see him, and he said, what is this people are saying? He said to him, look Umar, I have one clothes. When it is washed, one day I stay at home. Because I can't come out like that. Until it dries, then I come out. طيب. And in another narration, he said to Umar, I pray for them the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ. Like now, yeah, if you pray the Sunnah, they say, A'udhu Billah, what's this? You remove Imam. Like I said about some, don't worry, Ikhwan, this is normal ringtone. Sometimes you get cow and other animals. Once we were in Salah and cow started mooing. So I was fearing someone would ask, what's the hukum of the cow in Jama'ah? Or something like that. Because some ringtones at least make them tolerable. You know, and some brothers have water running. Maybe you've heard it, yeah? So when you're spraying, you think water is running. What's going on? And things like that. So either make it silent if you're in Salah or something. If you forgot, if you have a normal ringtone, it will be normal. Like this, mashallah, is normal. You're not surprised. Some of them like a police siren. And unfortunately, some brothers put it for their wives. It's not good. It's funny, yes, but you have to respect your wife. You don't put police or fire alarm or something for your wife. She can put something for you as well. When you call something. So it's not good. Especially if someone knows it's for your wife, it's not nice. It's not correct. You have to respect your wife and she has to respect you. Naam. So he said, I pray for them, Sa'ad defending himself, I pray for them the salah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And other things. And Umar said, that's how I used to think of you, Abu Ishaq. Look how Umar thinks. But he didn't tell Sa'ad that before he asked. But he never thought bad of him. He knew that people are wrong. But he wants to show people that he takes their complaints seriously. Look how the rulers used to be. So he wants the people not to talk too much and create problems for him. Because it's also a problem if people start talking. And so he wants that. Then if someone says, look, Umar doesn't care, others will say, he cares, he came. Remember when we complained about Sa'ad? He came and he himself investigated. So Umar radiallahu anhu said to him, that's how I think of you, Abu Ishaq. Abu Ishaq shows respect because kunya, Abu someone, father of someone, mother of someone, in Arabic shows respect. So Umar went around mosques in Kufa asking, and one mosque a man stood up and said, if you're asking us about Sa'ad, I can tell you, he doesn't go out to fight. This is a lie. He said 3 lies about Sa'ad, and he made dua against him in 3 things as well. He said he doesn't go, لا يسير بالسرية ولا يقسم بالسوية. He doesn't share the war booty, what we gain, justly. That's another big accusation. Meaning he takes for himself or he gives someone else who he shouldn't give. ولا يعدل في القضية. When he judges between people, he is not just. These are all very serious allegations. So Sa'ad became angry and he said, of course it is correct to become angry. He said, oh Allah, if this slave of yours is lying, look, subhanallah, how he is saying. He is not saying he is lying, even though he is lying. He said, oh Allah, Allahumma in kana abduka hadha kadhiban. If this slave is lying, he stood up to show himself to others and increase his reputation. فَأَطِلْ عُمُرَهُ. Make his life long, but not long for good, yeah? وَأَطِلْ فَقْرَهُ. And make his faqr, poverty, long. Make it very bad, very poor. وَعَرِّدْهُ لِلْفِتَنِ. And make him, expose him to trials. Fitan, any fitan. And after that, when he used to be asked, that man, he used to say when he was old, Shaykhun Kabir, an old man, Maftoon, I have a lot of fitna. Asabatni da'watu Sa'd. The dua of Sa'd has afflicted me, has hit the spot. Allah answered it for him. And in another narration, one of the narrators said, one of the ulama, فَأَنَا رَأَيْتُهُ, I saw him, that man, بَعْدُ قَدْ سَقَطَ حَاجِبَاهُ مِنَ الْكِبَرِ. His eyebrows, correct, I forgot for a moment. His eyebrows were so long because he's old. Sometimes old people, they get almost closed his eyes. So he was so old. وَإِنَّهُ لَيَتَعَرَّضْ لِلْجَوَارِ فِي الطَّرِيقِ يَغْمِزُهُنَّ. And he was trying, they were girls or slave girls. He was trying to, you can say, to talk to them inappropriately. That was one of his fitna. So that is another lesson for us in how we should treat each other and how people should be afraid not to make false accusations against good people. Because we very often make accusations against innocent people. We think bad of them. Whenever we have a masjid project, we think, oh, these people are collecting for themselves. Not whenever, but very often. We should never think like that. We know these brothers to be good and honest, and we shouldn't think. We should think, alhamdulillah, they're spending for the masjid, they're doing this. Otherwise, ikhwan, what's going to happen is that people are going to be afraid to be in charge of anything. And that's what's happening now. People who are good, they don't want to be in charge of money, they don't want to be in charge of masjid, they don't want to be in charge of anything, because people, many of them, they start labeling them and accusing them wrongly. The same, ikhwan, in family life. We shouldn't accuse our wives or husbands wrongly of bad things. You know, it's a big sin. And if that husband or wife gets angry and makes dua, it will afflict you, because the dua, the supplication, the request of that mazloom who has been wronged in something, if he or she asks Allah, He replies straight away, even if they are not Muslims. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Even if they are not Muslims. So that's very severe. To show the greatness of Sa'd as a scholar and as a leader, once Abdullah bin Umar, of course a great scholar himself, later he said to his father Umar, in relation to wiping over the leather socks, khuf in Arabic. He had heard something from Sa'd, Abdullah bin Umar. He had heard something from Sa'd in relation to that the Prophet did it, and he asked Umar about it, his father, like, is it true or something? So Umar said to him, this hadith is in Bukhari. Umar said, radiallahu anhu, look how they think good of each other, subhanAllah. But they're still doing what Allah said, but they love each other, they think good of each other. He said to his son, and this is tarbiyah for his son, this is education for his son. He said, when Sa'd tells you something about the Prophet ﷺ, don't ask anyone else. He means himself. When Sa'd tells you something about the Prophet ﷺ, don't ask anyone else. And the Prophet ﷺ, when they had, of course, the Battle of Uhud, which happened in the year 3 after Hijrah, 1 year almost after Badr. The Battle of Uhud was mentioned in our lectures before. Also, I mentioned in some of the lectures that during the Battle of Uhud, mountain of Uhud, near Medina, a group of Sahaba disobeyed the Prophet ﷺ, and they left their position, and they were the people who were entrusted with shooting the arrows at the archers. I was trying to look for that name, for that word. Jazakallah khair. The archers, a group of them, left their positions, and of course the Muslims were defeated. The life of the Prophet ﷺ was in danger. He nearly got killed. But one of the people who stood firm with the Prophet ﷺ was Sa'd, and Sa'd was known for his archery. Now, it was a very important skill, not anymore now. As you know, all of you, other skills are important these days. So he was a very good archer, and the Prophet ﷺ used to give him the arrows and used to say, "Irmi ya Sa'd fidaka abi wa ummi." Shoot, Sa'd, my father and mother be sacrificed for you. That's very big honor, and the ulama say some said he's the only one to whom the Prophet ﷺ said this. Some say that it is also al-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, also we will inshallah study him as well, to whom the Prophet ﷺ said the same thing. But it's very few, one or two individuals to whom the Prophet ﷺ said, "My father and mother be sacrificed for you." And he used to personally give him the arrows. And sometimes Sa'd himself said, and this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, he would give me an arrow without the arrowhead, that sharp thing. And he would still say, "Shoot it." Meaning it will do its job, don't worry. And on one occasion he used one of those arrows, and a person or a soldier of the enemy was killed by that. You can say by a stick that was traveling very fast. Yeah? Because as you know, those of you who may have done archery or you have seen archery, the arrow is not light, but also it's not that heavy. So if the arrowhead is missing, it becomes even lighter. And Sa'd radiallahu anhu, on the day of Uhud, saw two men, as it is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, with his eyes, fighting with the Prophet ﷺ, wearing white clothes. He said, "Those two men I never saw before in my life, and I never saw them after." And of course they were angels who Allah decided to lift their spirits and to show that He is helping the Prophet ﷺ. Some said it was Jibril and Mikael, and it's not that important. I mean, if it's even Jibril and Mikael alayhi salam, that's great. And if not, still it's two angels, because they never knew them, just like the hadith of Jibril. They never saw Jibril before or after. They didn't know him. So that is a great honor, because not everyone saw that. That shows that he was close to the Prophet ﷺ, and he was defending the Prophet ﷺ, just like the angels. And these are some of the great moments in his life. Very quickly we will go through some others left. And that is, he was one of the great umara, one of the great leaders of the army. And he took part in some major battles after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. He took part as a leader in the battle of Qadisiyah. Al-Qadisiyah was one of the greatest battles against the Persians. Naam. So if you have forefathers or ancestors that are Persian, don't be upset about it, because the Arabs, they brought Islam to everyone. They brought good things to everyone. And there is no need to hate the Arabs for that. In fact, we must be grateful to them for doing it. Because many people, I know some Persians who hate Arabs, I know some others who hate Arabs, I know some Berber in North Africa who hate Arabs. You want to be in shirk, I ask them. Yani it's good for you to be in kufr and shirk? Why do you hate Arabs for conquering you? Also, Ikhwan, we must know that small nations and tribes, they will always be conquered by someone. Small nations and tribes will always be conquered by someone. So is it better to be conquered by good people or bad people? People have to choose. Unless, of course, they are silly enough to think that they can conquer someone. That's when the problem starts. I know many people in my country who think they're great. Their whole number is 1 million. They think they're a great nation and Allahu Akbar. They're the greatest. 1 million. And you have been conquered by someone anyway, somewhere. If it's not the Romans, it's Persians. If it's not Persians, it's the Arabs. If it's not the Arabs, it's Americans or British or French or something. So if you're small, then know that you're small. And you have to be grateful Allah sent someone to do good to you. And you now pray, your women cover, you live a nice life at least. Otherwise you'd be going to the pub or bar. I don't know if Hitler conquered would be doing like this. So, you know, that is a reality of the world. That's why Islam is a realistic religion. Like for example, women. People say, oh, we free the women. Some who hate Islam, they say, you're forcing the women to wear hijab. The reality, Ikhwan, is women are going to be chased by men everywhere. Some women may not think like that. They think some men are very good. They love me just for it. They don't chase anyone. They give me flour and chocolate and things like that. Dear, if you don't know already, he's giving you flour and chocolate for that. To get you. So some men, all men, they're like that. Some men fear Allah. So they want to get you halal way. طيب? And some men want to get you haram way, anyway. Not halal. So Islam is realistic religion. It tells the woman to cover. But some who are either sick or they don't understand, they say, so what if a woman walks around half naked? Why should a man look at her? Because a man is created like that. Like one sheikh said to me, if a woman, scarecrow, to scare crows in the field. If someone put hijab on that scarecrow, we would be looking at her. Now she is suddenly a her. Because we think it's a woman. Nah? It's a scarecrow in hijab. Okay, put niqab maybe. We'll be trying to not to look, but we're forcing ourselves not to look at the scarecrow. Normally scarecrow we don't even look. But Allah made, so this all I'm saying is to show what? Islam is a realistic religion. Persians shouldn't hate Arabs because they brought good to them. Reality is, someone is going to rule you. Whether you like it or not. We are all Ikhwan being ruled. So is it better to be ruled by people who tell you to do good things? Or by people who exploit you, kill you, and tell you to do bad things? So the choice is people. So Al-Qadisiyah, one of the greatest battles in the history of post-Prophet ﷺ era, in which Allah helped them. They fought for 3-4 days. And Sa'd was ill. He became very ill on the eve of the battle. And he couldn't take part. He was on his bed. He couldn't even get up. He couldn't sit. He was lying and watching the battle. Sorry. So he also conquered most of the lands of Persia, Iraq, what is present day Azerbaijan. It's in Arabic called Azerbaijan, and some Armenia. It's still called Armenia. And Al-Madain. Al-Madain was in fact the city was the capital of the Persian Empire, and there was a river just before it, and that river was very big, and it was very hard to cross. And some scholars narrate that Sa'd radiallahu anhu saw a dream in which the horses were walking on the river as if on the land. And he said to the people that we have to cross it, because there is no way we can conquer the city except by crossing how we are, because they didn't have any boats, anything. Those people, they took everything. They destroyed the bridges, everything. And they crossed it, and they only lost one person and his horse. And from the thousands and thousands, they crossed, and they said they were crossing it talking to each other. And the depth was tremendous, 6 or more meters. And of course, it's one of the miracles Allah made. And the people on the other side, when they saw that, of course, they were not ready to fight anymore. They said, what's going on here? We are going to fight jinn? We can't fight jinn. You know. So that was one of the great things. And of course, after that, when the fitna happened between Ali and Muawiyah radiallahu anhuma, both Sahaba, Ali was right, in case someone is doubting. But we don't say bad things about Muawiyah. He decided to not engage in any side. He didn't support either side. He used to say to his children, if you show me a sword that kills the one who is wrong, or the kafir, he said, and leaves the Muslim, then I will take part. But to kill Muslims, he said, I will not want to take part. So he didn't attend any of their battles or of their meetings. And he was a great imam, and he was a great leader who deserved all the respect. In fact, I will give you, inshallah, last narration on this. Amir, on the authority of Amir, his son, that his father was in his house and his estate, you can say, attending to his sheep and cattle, when his son Umar came. And he told him, "Oh my father, are you happy to be an Arabi, meaning a Bedouin, tending to your sheep when people are fighting over the kingdom in Medina?" So Sa'd looked at him, struck him in the chest, hit him in the chest, and said, or like this maybe, he said, "Keep quiet. I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, Allah indeed loves his slave who is taqi, has taqwa, ghani, doesn't ask people, and he makes himself independent of them, al-khafi, he's not apparent to people. He does his own thing." So we have to learn from these great people how to behave in a fitna. It's not ikhwan, we have many fitna. We have fitna in Libya, we have fitna in Syria, we have fitna everywhere. May Allah help the Muslims everywhere. But it's not enough for us to make dua. Why? Because it can happen after 3 years again. It can happen after 2 years. You know, Algeria happened in the 90s, again it keeps happening. It can happen after 10 years. It can happen all the time. So why don't we learn? That is what we should be learning. We shouldn't be learning just collecting money, which is important. Yes, we should be helping our brothers and sisters. But look at Sa'd. We should be learning that to kill a Muslim is a great sin. That's what was one of the reasons he didn't want to take part. And Sa'd, he's one of the ulama. Now people who know nothing, they come, don't worry, he's a kafir. How do you know? He prays with you in the masjid sometimes. And he works for someone. Yes, his work may be haram, but to kill him is a big thing, ikhwan. And the Prophet ﷺ used to say to the Kaaba, you're great, but the greatness of a Muslim and the sanctity of his blood is greater. What is worse, to destroy the Kaaba or kill a Muslim? Kill a Muslim. Now people destroy Kaaba every day. And they feel nice about it. Say, Alhamdulillah, I'm doing jihad. Jihad يعني used to be against enemies of Islam. Now it's between Muslims. MashaAllah, new jihad we have. We have new jihad. That's why Sa'd said to his children, they said, why don't you do jihad? He said, jihad is against kuffar. When enemies strike against us, we do jihad. But a Muslim killing a Muslim, it's a big thing. So we have to be very careful. Very, very careful. Because those people whom we're killing may be Muslim. What are we going to say to Allah? So Sa'd radiallahu anhu, he could have taken part in. And do you think if we Ikhwan know 1400, 1300 after that fitna, if we know who was right, Sa'd didn't know? Do you really think that? Do you believe? Some ulama said that. They said they didn't know who was right. I doubt it. How can you say that about Sa'd? And he knows who is right. He knows who is better. He knows Ali became Muslim in Mecca very, very early. And Muawiyah radiallahu anhu became Muslim with his father after the conquest of Mecca. Between them, 21 years. Yes, Muawiyah is a great Sahaba, but he's not like Ali. So he knows. If we know it, he knows it. He was there with Ali. He in fact defended Ali when people started criticizing Ali. So he knew it, but something stopped him. So we have to excuse me, we have to read their biographies and we have to think. Because thinking is sometimes something we do very little. We want others to think for us. We should try and think as well ourselves. Why is it that he didn't take part? Why didn't he fight on the side of Ali? Why didn't he fight on the side of Muawiyah? May Allah be pleased with them. Why? We have to think. And why did he use this hadith that he understood it this way to his own son? And his son said, why are you with the sheep and these things and people are fighting over the... He doesn't want. Why should I fight for that? Just like Umar did, Uthman did, just like Hassan bin Ali did. When he said, I don't want the hukum, just leave it, and many lives were saved. When Uthman said, let them kill me, and we will see it, inshallah, it's better than all of you people die. It's better if I just die. That's how they used to be. Now, who cares? Let them kill half of the country. I'm right. It's not like this. It's not how they used to think. So we have to learn from them. He, radiallahu anhu, died. We will go to that because we don't have much time. He died in his palace. They used to have palaces at that time. That didn't prevent them from being good people. So having a palace doesn't mean you're an idiot. Unfortunately, now it means if you have a Mercedes or a good car, most likely you are a strange person. You think you're better because of Mercedes. Yani car made you better. A lot of metal and leather makes you better. That's how some people think. It's not. It doesn't make you any better. In fact, it makes you worse because you behave worse. So that didn't make them any worse. He died in his palace at Al-Aqiq, which is not far from Medina. And he was carried to Medina on foot, on the shoulders of people, and he was buried in Al-Baqi', in the cemetery that is probably well known to all of you or most of you. May Allah be pleased with him. And he was he died in the year 55 after Hijrah. In the year 55 after Hijrah. So he was 30 when Hijrah happened. So plus 55, he was 85. He was an old man. So that is the great Sahabi, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. If you have any questions, they're very quick. We can answer them. Inshallah, I can answer them. If not, we can do adhan and prepare for Isha. Jazakumullah khair for your patience. So please keep coming, because these are very interesting biographies of great people, and you can benefit and other people can benefit. Inshallah, I benefit definitely. So I hope you have benefited as well, and you will benefit, and all of us will benefit. Jazakumullah khairan, may Allah reward you. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.